You are a tough act to follow. Thank you so much. That was lovely. I almost got completely lost in it. Um, it's meant to be felt, and it's not all easy as we are, as a lot of us are experiencing in the recent weeks. So thank you for that beautiful reminder, Omega.
Thank you.
All right, let me get kind of situated here. I'm not 100% comfortable with this Zoom business yet. I'm working on it, but are you in there? I still haven't figured out how they can put 119 of you in this little box, but you're in there. I know you're in there. All right, let's see. Let me open up my thing and we'll be good to go. It's good to be back. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new month with new thoughts and new ideas for us to consider in this world that we are in the midst of co-creating. Each month this year, we have different themes, and this month's theme is listen to the heart. With all of the data and the figures and numbers and mental gymnastics of the last couple of months, a constant ongoing balancing of mind and heart is definitely in order. I love this idea and I love the practice of heart. It's something that just in recent years we're seeing brought into our philosophy in a much greater way to balance the mind. And I think it's serving us very well. I've come to think of it as mindful heartfulness. We're setting a mental intention to live more and more from our heart, not just keeping mind and heart balanced, but going beyond that to keeping the heart front and center in our spiritual practice. That's where it's always been for me. And I finally figured out why. And that is that my heart wants to have the lead in my life. I was taught that it's my head that takes the lead, but as time goes by, I have become hopefully even a little bit wiser. And I find that I have this amazing source of wisdom right here in my heart space. And then I come here to places like the Center for Spiritual Living, and you tell me that love is the greatest power and that my heart is super intelligent, brilliant even, if I take the time to get to know it. Our hearts are wise and deep and trustworthy. And something deep inside of me says, ah, yes, I walk in the door and I meet other heart-centered people like you. And I think to myself, this is my place. These are my people. Boy, I miss you all. I cannot wait till the day when we are all together again in our amazing and beautiful sanctuary. In the meantime, this awakening, for lack of a better term, this awakening of the heart leads us to great questions. Like, what is that something deep inside of me? And that, my friends, brings us into the realm of the soul. What is it? Why is it? Where is it? Deepak Chopra says, to experience our innermost self, we must go beyond the clamor of ego, beyond the tools of logic and reason, to the still, calm place within the realm of the soul. Christian mystic Meister Eckhart writes, a human being has so many skins inside, covering the depths of the heart. We know so many things, but we don't know ourselves. Why 30 or 40 skins or hides as thick and hard as an ox's or bear's cover the soul. Get into your own ground and learn to know yourself there. It's such a big topic, and where to begin? Care and feeding, nourishment and nurturance of the human soul. First must come a desire to recognize that we have one, that we are one. Now, skeptics can have a hard time with this because it's the very skepticism itself that gets in the way of people having a soul experience. But keeping an open mind isn't that key to so many things. So that's step one. Is my mind open? Am I willing to consider this mysterious heart and soul space that I keep hearing about? Am I willing to invite a relationship between my mind and my soul? Emily Dickinson has a beautiful line that reminds me. She writes, "The soul should always stand ajar, ready to welcome the ecstatic experience." And I thought, now there's my affirmation for the week. There's my affirmation maybe for the month. My soul stands ajar. Today, my soul stands ajar, ready to welcome the ecstatic experience. What I do know about the human soul is that it is poised, excuse me, water, poised, ready, willing, and yes, excuse me, even eager to respond to a sincere invitation. By the time you get around to asking for a relationship with your own soul, I can tell you that your soul has been waiting a long, long time for that invitation. We are designed as multidimensional beings, body, mind, heart, and soul. Many years ago, I was introduced to a model. John will be using the slides here in a minute. An ancient model found in the Upanishads, the ancient Hindu texts. I like this model a lot. The author, I've spoken about this before and will again because it serves me to do so. It reminds me, I don't know if it does anything for anybody else, but it reminds me of what I need to remember. The author suggests that we occupy not one, but 5 bodies in the human experience. Here as part of our human experience. I've spoken to it before. I like it. I don't know if it's true, but it did succeed in opening my mind and helping me think bigger with a more expansive mind about things like this. And the model is this: the 5 bodies that we inhabit, if we can see that first slide, John, the physical body, that we are the most familiar with. This is what we identify with. This is me, this body, this self, I am this. And the physical body, hang on, let me look at my slides and make sure we're good. Yep, there's physical. The physical body exists within the vital body. This is the life energy, the animating force back of all creation. That'll be the next slide, John. Uh-oh, now I'm in trouble. Can one of the tech people take me off of full screen so that I can see my talk? Bless you, bless you. See, this is what I mean. My tech stuff, my screen went full screen and now I can't get to my Word document. How fascinating. Let me in, let me in. You've taken control of my computer and I can't get to my Word document. I need to shrink this down a little bit. All right. Fortunately, I printed a copy so we can carry on while we're figuring this out.
Jeff, hit escape on your laptop.
Thank you. There we are. See, these are the things. Thank you for your patience, everyone. All right, where were we? The physical body exists within the vital body. I think that's where we left off. The vital body is the chi, the life energy that animates everything. Hang on. All right, those 2 bodies exist within the vital body. Next slide, please, John. This is, oops, no, physical, vital, then mental. This is the body of thought, both individual and what we call group mind, or the consciousness of the human race. It's also the mind of God, the realm of the mental. the intelligence that we share. So when we say there is only one mind, that mind is God's mind, that mind is perfect. That mind is my mind right now. This is the realm that we're speaking to. All of this exists within the supramental intellect. And here's where it gets interesting. And my early teacher about this, by the name of Amit Goswami, he calls this the soul body. He also calls it a quantum monad. He postulates that this is the aspect of self that transmigrates from lifetime to lifetime. Interesting, huh? He also calls the soul body the body of themes, 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 teaching that these themes, once we become aware of them in our lives, can help to inform and direct us. Lots of people seem to have lifetime themes. When you start looking for them, you start noticing them, specific areas that some folks seem to have been given to work on in this lifetime. Sometimes it's relationship or self-esteem or money or creativity, perhaps. Could be a lot of things. The soul body and all four of these existing bodies do so within the fifth body. And that's the last slide, I think, John, the all in all, the bliss body or the body of God. And that can take care of itself. Papa is on the job. So all very interesting. But how does this help us? Excuse me. How does this help us to know ourselves better? First, remember that we're trying to cultivate and nourish an open mind. That's step one. Am I willing to consider this mysterious heart and soul space that I'm hearing about? If so, what if this model, this five bodies model, hang on. Yeah, we still got it up. What if here it is, the supramental intellect? There is our soul, a picture of it. The first time we've ever seen a picture of our soul, but can this give me a place to start to think about this soul business? And there is more than thought involved. There's another important ingredient to remember. It's an ingredient, but it's also a skill. And that is this. Dr. Holmes speaks to it when he says, God speaks in a language more subtle than the human language without a tongue. In that universal language of spiritual emotion, which is instinctive in humanity. The universal language of emotion, sense, feeling, intuition, and instinct. So the invitation then is to be aware of that subtle language. Our relationship with our soul is like that. It's subtle, non-linear, and often communicating via that still small voice that we talk about. The universal language, emotion, sense, feeling, intuition, instinct. And we often unconsciously or maybe even consciously filter it out or dismiss it because we aren't aware or we're not paying attention or maybe we don't even know it exists. But this language can and does become familiar once we start paying attention. I like how Rumi speaks to it. He says, listen, clam up your mouth and be silent like an oyster shell. For that tongue of yours is the enemy of the soul, my friend. When the lips are silent, the heart has 100 tongues. And then there are other times, I think Brene Brown speaks to it well when she says we get to the point sometimes in our lives where it feels like God is trying to shake the nonsense out of us. Sometimes it's just time and the universe gets our attention. I don't talk about my out-of-body experiences very much. The times when my soul stepped out of my physical body and went on walkabout, to borrow a phrase from our friends down under, but it did. it's been over 20 years now since that season, that micro season of my life. And I will tell you that it was a time of great distress. I was not in a good place. And the day came when my soul was so unhappy with me. Interesting. My soul was so unhappy with me. Remember that we identify our physicality with me. This body is me most often. My soul was not happy with me. And so I had my first of what was to become many out-of-body experiences. I don't talk about it much because people think, well, it's an odd topic. People think whatever it is that they think, perhaps that I am a sandwich or two short of a full picnic when I start talking out-of-body stuff. But once something like that happens, there is no going back. You cannot unring that bell. My soul stepped out of my body. And so for me, there is no question. Something of me, the essence of me, exists independent of my physical body. It's me and my quantum monad transmigrating from lifetime to lifetime, maybe. But it makes me think. And so where does all this bring us? Hopefully to a place where our minds are open and our hearts are engaged and curious, and that deep, mysterious thing called the soul is stirring, anxious and grateful that you're willing to go there and be met. The purpose of all of this is for us to get to know ourselves more completely. The more we know, the more we have to work with. I want to know what my heart and soul desires are because that's my purpose for existing. Can we see that graphic again, John, slide 6? Here's the thing, the better I know my own divine self, the better I know God. The better I know my own divine self, the better I know God. So that's a route, one route, not the only way, or maybe not even the best way. It's just one possibility, but there it is. The possibility of experiencing God in a greater way. The only real possibility is through our own experiences, right? Rumi says, the breezes at dawn have secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. It's a good time for us to be awake. We are co-creating a new experience of life on this planet. So it serves us to pay attention to what we're doing. I want to introduce you to a term this morning that I'm still getting familiar and comfortable with. The term is liminal space. Liminal, L-I-M-I-N-A-L. I read an article this last week by Richard Rohr. He is a brilliant Franciscan friar. In his column dated April 26th, titled Between Two Worlds. I'm going to read you a fair portion of this because it applies directly to where we find ourselves today. In our world, liminal space, he writes, is an inner state and sometimes an outer situation where we can begin to think and act in new ways. It is where we are betwixt and between, having left one room or stage of life, but not yet entered the next. We usually enter liminal space when our former way of being is challenged or changed. Perhaps we lose a job or a loved one during illness, the birth of a child, or a major relocation. It's a graced time, graced, G-R-A-C-E-D, but often does not feel graced in any way. In such a space, we're not certain or in control. This global pandemic, he writes, we now face is an example of an immense collective liminal space. The very vulnerability and openness of liminal space allows room for something genuinely new to happen. We are empty and receptive, erased tablets waiting for new words. Liminal space is where we become most teachable, often because we are most humbled. It's no surprise then, he goes on, that we generally avoid liminal space. It's uncomfortable. We're experiencing a lot of that right now. Much of the work of authentic spirituality, he writes, and human development is to get people into liminal space and to keep them there long enough that they can learn something essential and new. This in-between space invites us to discover and live from broader perspectives and with a much deeper seeing. If that doesn't describe the season that we find ourselves in, I don't know what does. Finally, he concludes, in liminal space, we sometimes need to not do and not perform according to our usual success patterns. We need to be silent instead of speaking, experience emptiness instead of fullness, anonymity instead of persona. In liminal space, we descend intentionally and don't come back up immediately. It takes time, but this experience can help us re-enter the world with freedom and new creative approaches to life. The invitation is to come to meet our own heart and soul in the sacred center of self, and now is the time. Imagine that if you've never heard the word liminal space before, you still likely have a sense of what I'm talking about. It would be difficult to exist in this time of global crisis and not feel caught between at least two worlds, the one that we knew and the one to come. Our consciousness and that of future generations has been irrevocably changed. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. At this time in our world, I, for one, want to seek out the most reliable, most trustworthy source of direction for what is mine to be in the world as we move ahead into a new world that each of us is contributing to. And what I know about the human soul is that it is poised and ready to respond to a sincere invitation. It has been waiting a long, long time for that invitation. We are multidimensional beings, my friends, body and mind and heart and soul. We're all of that. And God knows the world we seek to create, that we are in the midst of creating, is going to need all of the goodness that we can bring. During this time, there is a clear invitation to clear some time and space and to be still. Be still. And invite that still, small voice into a conversation. Invite your own soul into a relationship with the rest of your being. It could be the best conversation that you've had all day. I want to close this morning with a piece by Khalil Gibran that speaks to me about this time that we find ourselves in. It's titled Fear. And he writes this. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know that it's not about disappearing into the ocean. It's about becoming the ocean. Blessed be you. Let us pray. So I breathe into this liminal space, this space of non-definition, this space of infinite possibility that is the mind and the heart of God. I invoke the presence of my own heart and soul. I invite it into a conversation with the rest of me and with the rest of you. What is mine to be during this time of transition and creativity and recreation? What is mine to contribute to this world that is wide open now and receptive, that will take whatever I have to give it, whatever you have to give it, whatever we have to give it, good, bad, or indifferent, we get to choose. And so I affirm our intention to bring the best of our minds, to bring the best of our hearts, to bring the best of our souls to every crossing of paths, to every thought, to every person, to every circumstance, to every situation. For I know that it all exists within the one complete whole that is the presence of God. All that I am, all that I have, all that I am becoming exists within that one perfect wholeness. That's the truth for me. That's the truth for each person in the sound of my voice. And so it is from that place that I speak this word of blessing and of gratitude. First, grateful for the opportunity, for the technology, for the coming together of this village that is the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living that refuses to lay down, that stands in the face of any and all challenge, as a village does, united, loving each other, witnessing each other, walking with each other through times of challenge and through times of celebration. I speak a word of blessing for our nonprofit partner, our brand new nonprofit partner for this month, Casting for Recovery, providing healing, inspirational outdoor events for women with breast cancer. It's a lovely nonprofit. I'm happy to be working with them. I speak a word of blessing and gratitude for our planet. I am watching how well she restores herself during this time. And it reminds me, the planet's just fine. The planet knows how to be just fine. And I let it, and I bless it. You know, when we bless things, we're actually calling forth the good in them. And so I bless this planet and I call forth the good of it. May it remind us of what we have forgotten. I speak a word for all of those in service, creating a world that works for everyone. And make no mistake, my friends, we are all in service in some way. I speak a word for our youth, their inspiration, their their fabulous energy and excitement. They don't seem near as worried about the state of the world as the rest of us. I think there's something in mind there. I think the children will teach us more of what we have perhaps forgotten. And so I bless the youth and all the youth of the world. I speak a word of comfort and of blessing for those in our community walking through times of challenge. Mary Thomas and Mike and Marguerite Tan, Richard, for all those impacted by this COVID-19. I feel you. And my heart aches for all of the heartache that goes on in the world. I speak a word of blessing for the Boddington family as they mourn the loss of Ed. Speak a word for Rudy and Phyllis and Layla and Volney and Joan and their families, all navigating times of transition and loss. Bless them. I know there are people and places and circumstances that we are all carrying around in our minds and hearts these days. And I invite you to just Bring those to a forefront position in your mind. That blessing is calling forth the good. I bless all the people that challenge me. I bless all the institutions and choices and decisions that challenge me. I bless the people in leadership positions. I'm knowing that the presence of God, the intelligence, the love of God is right where they are, and they're guided to make loving, kind, brilliant decisions to guide our planet to the next season of wellness that is right around the corner. And so grateful for all of this, grateful for all that has been, grateful for all that is yet to be. I can release this word then of prayer, allowing it to go before me, knowing all is well. I bless it. I give thanks. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.